My name is Clara Wynne, I'm 27, and two things happened the night my sister got married that finally rearranged my bones. First, I learned that sparkling water burns just as much going down when you swallow it with humiliation. Second, I realized freedom sometimes walks in wearing a cocktail dress and the fakest smile in the room. The country club outside Indianapolis smelled like polished wood and certainty. My sister Mara looked like a magazine page that had never been folded. There were 3 open bars, a greenhouse-style photo booth, monograms pressed into napkins that were too soft to be real. If you listened closely, you could hear money exhale. I sat at the family table with my mother Elaine, wearing her porcelain expression, my father Richard, counting his affection like it was coming out of an ATM. And a few in-laws who kept saying they remembered me from childhood. Polite code for, you used to be smaller and quieter. We were never the airport hug kind of family. We believed in transactions, in ledgers you could hold. When I needed a small loan to clear my last semester after grants and 30 hours a week at a campus job, Dad printed a contract. 10% interest, 1-year term, failure to repay clause. He watched while I initialed every page like he was notarizing my disappointment. Meanwhile, Mara flamed out of freshman year, wrecked her car, and got a shinier one before the week ended. No contract, just we all make mistakes and a cake that read, "Welcome home, bright girl." That's the dynamic. File under the things everyone knows and nobody says. I hadn't told them I was leaving Indiana. Not just leaving. Erasing. On my laptop, a folder named Event Stuff, in case anyone snooped, held job listings, a spreadsheet comparing faraway cities, and a budget labeled Oxygen. I hadn't even told Evan Hart, my boyfriend of a year. We were good in that gentle, steady way that feels like remembering a password you created on a day you were kind to yourself. He was on rotation 2 states over, texting me pictures of tragic motel chicken and asking if I'd eaten. His ex, Sasha Vale, kept orbiting the edges, civil, lovely, the kind who remembers anniversaries that aren't hers. I told myself she was background noise. I tried to believe it. Dinner was almost over when Dad stood, tapped his glass, and pulled a hush over the room like a blanket. He started sweet, pride, trust, the work of love. He glanced at Mara and her brand new husband, summer as a verb ironed into their cufflinks. Then he let the real speech out. Some kids make you proud, he said. Others just take up space. A sitcom-style zinger. Laughter broke around the table in nervous little clumps. Even Mara giggled the way people do when they're proving they're on the safe side of the line. Mom didn't blink. She rarely wastes the good china of her expressions. Something clicked in me. Not anger yet. More like a door in an empty hallway, finally deciding which hinge it belongs to. I lifted my glass, caught Dad's eyes like I was gripping a heavy box I was done carrying, and said just loud enough to cut the tablecloth, "Good thing I just got my own place a couple 1,000 miles away. You won't have to see me take up space again." Silence is the most honest sound. A waiter coughed. The bandleader pretended to retune a guitar that didn't need it. For a second, Dad's face trembled like the mask didn't fit as well as he remembered. Then nothing. They let me stand. They let me leave. I walked out barefoot, heels in hand. Dignity is easier with no shoes. Back at the hotel, adrenaline burned off and left a bright, careful calm. I didn't cry. No mirror pep talk. Just the quiet arithmetic of a person done negotiating with a locked door. I opened the bank app Dad made me download when I borrowed the tuition money and sent the final payment. $3,362.08 memo, as agreed. He tracks every cent, so do I. No reply, of course. In our house, silence isn't absence, it's leverage. The next morning, Mara posted a frosting-smeared selfie to the family group chat. Best night ever. Champagne and hearts. Mom replied with sparkly cliches about perfect beginnings. It was almost impressive, the choreography of erasure. They treated my line like a dropped napkin. Step over it and keep dancing. Evan texted, "How's the fancy wedding? Eat real food." I sent him a plate and a lie. "Fine." He replied with a crooked bedhead selfie. "Proud of you, even on boring days." I wanted to tell him everything, the toast, the transfer, the window in my chest that finally opened, but the words waited for a safer room. 2 days later, Mom called with medical-grade concern, soft gauze over a sharp edge. Was I okay? Did something happen? I said work was busy. Then came the generational alibi. Dad didn't mean it like it sounded. He's old school about affection. We've always supported you in our way. In our family, the word support always arrives with a receipt stapled to it. I opened event stuff. Portland, Boulder, Flagstaff, Asheville, at least 1,000 miles of air between me and whatever this was. I made columns: cost of living, job market, weather, the distance grief must travel when it has to buy a plane ticket. I started selling things under a fake name: books, a blender that only ever made apology smoothies. Every passive-aggressive comment from Mom, $50 to the escape fund. Every jab from Dad while scrolling his phone, $100. I turned leaving into math and the numbers liked me back. On the surface, I performed daughterhood, answering texts, showing up, laughing at stories that never happened. But in my head, I was packing a suitcase and labeling it with a word I hadn't used on myself in years: mine. 6 weeks after the wedding, Mara left me a voicemail with small, careful sobs. Could we talk? We hadn't, not really. Since the toast, a heart emoji under a photo of my dog, that was it. When I called back, her voice sounded paper thin. They'd been fighting. Her husband disappeared for hours. Maybe they rushed. Maybe it was family pressure. Could I help her pack? I made her repeat it. She wanted to move out, back to our parents. Just for a bit. She couldn't afford the place alone. She hadn't told them. I don't want the speeches, she whispered. I can't be perfect and wrong at the same time. That line stopped me. Golden children aren't supposed to know the weight of gold. Boundaries are cleaner on paper, but voices crack in a way spreadsheets don't. I'll come, I said. Her apartment looked half erased. Wedding photos still sealed in their envelope, cabinets that never learned the shape of her dishes. We packed mostly in silence. When she folded a dress with the tag still on, she said, eyes down, "You were right to get out." I didn't answer. Some fragile truths shouldn't be touched with words. We finished fast. She hugged me like someone learning a new language. I left before our parents arrived. I didn't want to watch them practice sympathy like a second language. On the drive home, I transferred $500 more to the escape fund and renamed the spreadsheet from Oxygen to Oxygen Not Permission. That week, an email arrived. Interview request from a creative agency in Portland. Fully remote and better pay than I expected, a role that sounded like a life and not a leash. On the morning of the interview, Mom called 4 times before I finished my coffee. My stomach did its old ferry boat sway. I turned the phone off. The interview felt like a room with windows. They'd read my work. Where did I see myself in 5 years? Owning my days, I said, not asking for permission to breathe. The call ended and I sat still, unapologetic about the space my own chair occupied. I turned my phone back on to 7 missed calls and a text from Mara. "Don't come home." I called immediately. She whispered, "Mom found your spreadsheet. She told Dad you're plotting to humiliate them. They're waiting. Doors closed. Please don't go." I knew the choreography by heart. My parents preferred private punishments. It makes rewriting history easier. That night, I pulled a suitcase from the closet and left it open. I didn't pack much. Good jeans, 3 shirts that make me look like I didn't forget myself, boots that add an inch to my courage, a small notebook labeled "Next Chapter." I wasn't going to argue anymore. I wasn't going to win loud. I would leave so clean their silence couldn't stain it. Days turned strange and weightless. Emails looked like exits. The house sounded like a countdown, Mom's spoon in her mug, Dad's stock alerts. I hid the half-packed suitcase under folded sweaters in case they snooped. Every day got a secret ritual. Morning coffee while scanning postings and pretending to scroll. Afternoon walks rehearsing answers to questions no one would ask. Evenings listing things for sale, forwarding every dollar to the hidden account. Watching the number grow became prayer. The family group chat kept performing normal. Wedding photos, dinner plans, Mom's quotes about forgiveness. The irony had craft services. Then Dad brought up Portland over lasagna like it was the weather. "Big move, risky," he said, trying on curiosity like a sweater he never planned to buy. Mom's voice turned soft. "We're worried you're running from something." I smiled, polite and surgical. "Maybe I'm running towards something." Mara shot me a warning glance, the kind sisters use when they want to protect you, but know the floor is rigged. Afterward, in the kitchen, I asked Mara if she told them. She swore she didn't. Maybe Lena, our cousin who talks to everyone at church, carried a slice of gossip from somewhere. Gossip is our family's favorite second language. A message from Evan arrived later. "You sound off." I typed, "They know." He replied, "Then don't give them power over the ending." Easier said than done. The morning of my final interview, the sky was colorless, like the world was holding its breath. Hair tied back in a neat compromise between professional and terrified, I stared at my reflection on the laptop screen and whispered, "Don't shrink, you belong." 3 faces smiled back from tidy digital squares, and I answered every question like the windows were open. "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" "In a place where I don't have to apologize for breathing." The silence after felt like space being made. Then Mom detonated my phone with urgent messages. I ignored them until Mara texted again, "Don't come home." Mom had gone through my laptop, said she was checking the battery. She found the cities, the budget, the exit plan. They were furious and ready to stage a closed-door tribunal. I thanked Mara and sat in limbo, refreshing my inbox until 4:07 p.m., when the email came. Offer. Creative strategist, Portland office, remote. Full salary, benefits, proof of a life not requisitioned by anyone's pride. I forwarded it to myself twice like an incantation against bad luck. I called Evan. He laughed the good laugh that softens a room. "I knew you would. I'm proud of you." Then his voice changed. "Your mom called me." My stomach dropped. She told him I was acting strange and isolating. She mentioned Portland. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "Because people turn plans into arguments when they can't own them," I thought. Out loud. I needed to know it was real before I handed it to anyone. He was quiet, then gentle. "I get that." Sasha texted congrats out of nowhere. Something about long distance being messy. I didn't reply. Not because I'm above anything, but because silence is stronger than engagement. I deleted the event stuff folder, cleared my history, backed up the essentials to a USB, and staged my room like a model home for ghosts. Near midnight, 3 soft taps on my door. Mara. Eyes red but steady. "They think you're asleep. You shouldn't be here," I whispered. "I needed to see you before you go," she said. She slipped a folded note into my hand. "Open it when you're gone." I didn't hug her. In our house, hugs become evidence. "I'll call when I'm safe." Before dawn, the refrigerator hummed like it didn't know the wall would forget me in an hour. I took 1 suitcase, a backpack, and the sealed note. The cab idled at the curb, headlights dimmed. I looked back once, not at the house but at the dark square of my old window. "That's all you get," I said, and left. The driver didn't ask questions. Roads were empty, the world half asleep. It felt right that no one witnessed the exit. In a corner seat at the airport, I opened Mara's note. "If you're reading this, you did it. I'm proud of you. Don't come back for me. I'll find my own way out." My hands shook, not from guilt, but recognition. "Cycles can break quietly," Evan called. "Do you want me in Portland?" I wanted to say yes, but I needed to land without building around someone else. "Not yet," I said. "Let me start alone." He understood. Love, when it's not trying to own you, sounds like that. I landed in Portland under a misty apology of rain. The apartment was small, 1 bedroom, cracked tiles, a view of a parking lot. Perfect. The silence here wasn't sharp or judgmental. It just stayed. I unpacked slowly. Jeans, laptop, notebook. I slipped Mara's note into the kitchen drawer under the forks. A reminder that leaving isn't betrayal. Sometimes it's the only honest form of love. I drafted a resignation letter to the part of me that still wanted their approval. "Dear old Clara, you did everything right and they still couldn't see you. It's not your fault they mistook endurance for obedience. You're allowed to go." I saved it as a draft. Not everything needs an audience. A week later, HR finalized everything. Remote, flexible hours, a manager who called me steady fire. I closed the old joint emergency account Dad insisted I keep. 1 digital click felt more final than any goodbye hug. Mom texted an invitation to dinner with a photo of the perfect table and an empty chair at the end. It was almost funny, the theater of welcome where I'd always been the understudy. I typed, "Can't. I have plans." She asked, "With who?" I answered, "Myself," and put the phone face down. Instead of another perfect family performance, I ate soup by the window with a cheap candle. The city hummed, alive, indifferent, free. I didn't hate them, I just refused to live inside their story. For the first time in my life, that refusal didn't feel like loss. It felt like air. Weeks passed. The rain softened. I stopped flinching when my phone buzzed. Work settled into a rhythm where my ideas didn't need to come with receipts. On a gray Thursday, a voicemail from Mara, calm, almost bright. She got a job in Chicago, Mom cried. More about losing control than missing her. I wouldn't have done it if I hadn't watched you first, she said. Leaving isn't cruel. It's how we stop pretending. I listened twice. The second time I didn't cry. I opened the window and let Rosemary from the neighbor's balcony drift in. Evan visited, rain-soaked, 2 coffees in hand, the same crooked smile that had steadied me on the worst nights. We walked downtown with no plan, shoes whispering against wet pavement. You seem lighter, he said. I stopped negotiating with guilt. How's that going? Like learning to breathe underwater. Awkward, but survivable. Later, he looked around my small living room. This place suits you. It's the first that does, I said. We didn't talk for a while. His presence wasn't a rescue, it was a witness. Someone to see the version of me my family had never allowed to exist. Before he left, he offered a small envelope. From Sasha, an apology. I dropped it in the trash unopened. Not out of spite, out of conservation. Some stories don't deserve an epilogue. On a quiet Sunday, I wondered if Mom ever stepped into my old room and noticed the missing suitcase, or if Dad opened the app and saw the closed account. I made coffee. Across the street, a train's horn threaded the air. It used to sound like escape. Now it just sounded like life continuing. If they ever ask where I went, tell them this: I didn't run away. I stepped out of their story and started writing my own. And if you're hearing this where so many of us come to put our regrets in the light, shadows of regret, know that leaving doesn't make you cruel. It makes you honest. Silence can be a punishment, but it can also be a home when you choose it. Some goodbyes happen with fireworks. Mine happened with a closed door, a rented cab at dawn, and a promise I kept to myself. I stayed gone. And in the quiet that followed, I finally heard the sound of my life. Unwritten, unapproved, and completely mine.